Good morning or good evening, depending on time zones. Welcome to Last Bell Boxing. We're joined by friend of the show and legend, Roberto Diaz. Good morning, Roberto.
Good morning, Carl. Thank you so much for having me, and good morning to all our listeners at Last Bell
Thank you
Boxing.
very much. So, good to see you looking well. You look really healthy. You've been doing a lot of globe trotting and a lot of air miles. So, let's start with our things generally, Roberto.
Things are great. You know what? Obviously, it's been very humbling experience. I've been getting a lot of calls of a lot of veteran fighters, a lot of young fighters, asking for advice. Not everybody wanting to fight or wanting to work or wanting just asking for advice. And obviously, some of them, taking the advice, and some of them not. But it's just been very humbling, and I really appreciate all the love and support I've been getting, all over the world, and just happy to be in some, back at it, back and busy to doing what I love, and that's working with boxers, working in the boxing
All them compliments are
industry.
well deserved, young man. They are well deserved.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
So, let's get into them, Roberto. So, when you look back on 2023, what are your highlights and what are your lowlights in the world of boxing?
Well, 12 months have gone by. We're in the 12th month. I like to look at it as a championship fight. The first round came out, got dropped, literally. But I didn't let that stop me. The next couple rounds were a little, rough and tough because it was new. And from the fourth round, fifth, well, in the fourth round, actually, um, probably I got cut, you could say, and I got maybe even busted up a little, maybe two knockdowns, not the third because we kept going. And I say that because in April I had a massive heart attack.
Oh,
And
sorry to hear that.
this is the first time I've ever mentioned it publicly. Um, so that's why I said I think I got cut and dropped a couple times, but it's not how the fight starts. It's not how you come into the first few rounds. It's, going back to the corner, having a great corner, a great team, settling you down. And the second half of the fight is where the experience and the championship levels, and in the last two rounds, which have been the championship rounds, have been better than ever. So I think even though the first few rounds started a little rocky, the last few rounds have ended magnificent. And I think we're going into the last round now, and the hand's been raised, and I could say that I won the fight this 12 rounder. So I'm very happy. 2023 had it up and downs, but that's a message to everybody. It's not always sunshine. There has to be a storm. There has to be rain, and enjoy the sun that then no evil lasts forever.
So, good to hear that you're back to full health, Roberto, for starters.
Thank
That's the
you.
most important thing. Boxing's a richer place for having you in it. That's my
Thank you so
second point.
much.
So, moving on to your fighters at the minute, a couple of people I'd like to ask a few questions about. Which, first of all, George Linares against Catterall. Can I just say how respectful Linares was throughout that entire fight and his team, I might add.
Yes, definitely. There was a lot of respect. There was no need to. I mean, Jorge has always characterized himself as a very gentleman, sportsman-like conduct during fights. Very rarely does he get out of line or control or heated even. And I think that comes with experience and maturity. Jack Cattrall and his team had nothing but positive and a lot of respect for Jorge. And I think rightfully so. Look, Jorge had shown everything from the
Yeah.
past, his history, his titles. So Jack knew that there was no need for that. It's just, hey, we're proud and happy to share the ring with you. And the better man won that night. And I'm very proud of Jorge and the career he had leading into the fight. I thought the experience was going to be too much. And quite honestly, I thought he was going to beat Jack. But Jack gained a lot of experience, is going to be a better fighter with this victory, but also showed he's at that top level. Look, like Jorge and I said prior to the fight, we should be facing the undisputed world champion, undefeated
Yeah,
as well, because we felt he beat Josh Taylor in the first fight. But at the same time, had he been the undefeated,
you would have
he
get the fight.
wouldn't have been fighting Jorge Linares. So, it worked out the way it did. And there's a lot of respect for Jack. We wish him all the best. We know he's going to go on to become a world champion and do big things in boxing.
If you was advising Josh Taylor, Roberto, would you be advising him to get that rematch done and dusted and jump in with him?
If I was on Josh Taylor's side, I would say no. I'd say, look, move up to welterweight, because I think the depleting has affected him a little bit. I don't think we've seen, and that's what I said too. Did we see Josh Taylor, or is it because Jack Catterall's that good? We won't know until after he fought Linares. I think it was a combination of both could be there until we see Jack move on and do other things in the division. But if I'm Josh, move up to 147 and go look for the big fights there. If Jack moves up in weight and goes to 147 as well, then it's a natural that somewhere down the line they meet again.
I'll play devil's advocate with you. If Josh Taylor doesn't fight Catterall again, does that tarnish his legacy?
No, not at all. Not at all. There's some fights that, it also depends on what Josh goes and does from here on out. But there's some fights that just financially, economically, or at the moment they can't be made. And if there's bigger fights out there for Josh, then, more power to him.
And then coming on to Jason quickly, who I find a very intriguing fighter. You're very complimentary about him whenever there's a fight coming up. What's next for Jason?
Well, Jason had showed a lot of heart in the Berlanga fight, showed a lot of, will, and it didn't come out his way. But it's very similar to the Linares fight. If he goes and rides off into the sunset, I'm proud of the career he had. Obviously, the world title escaped our hands. He didn't win the world title, but I'd rather see him off a Berlanga fight than off an Andrade fight. This is that the Fighting Irish that, he went down a few times, but he got up a few times and kept coming. And that's characteristic of the Irish and of Jason. Right now, I'm very happy to say, and funny, in both cases, Linares says, I want to take the role of an advisor, a mentor to younger fighters. And I think Jason right now doing the management promotion, turning the page on the boxing career can bring a lot to the table to young fighters that haven't gone through the experiences that they need, that don't know from going to amateur to pros how difficult it could be unless you have that right advisor and right team behind you. And I think Jason, if he does decide to ride off into the sunset in the ring, he can come in and be someone that really is going to give back to the fighters, somebody that's going to care, somebody that's been in the ring and can share a lot of knowledge and experience with them.
Very good point. So moving on to the wider boxing scene then, Roberto. I've been waiting to get your opinion on the Tyson Fury versus Ngannou fight and what happened in that fight. So can you just give me your thoughts on that fight and how it played out?
Absolutely. I think on one side, not only was the world of boxing surprised on how well in a short period Ngannou prepared and brought in to the ring and did what he had to do. And I think that surprised the world completely, thinking, he's fighting the heavyweight champion of the world. He's not going to go more than 2 or 3 rounds. But more importantly, he surprised Tyson Fury. And I believe it's a combination of that the man, first of all, is not just the guy that picked up some gloves and said, I want to step into the ring. He's a man that is a tremendous talent, a legend in combat sports. So it was just a matter of getting down certain techniques, but he's a fighter. But at the same time, I think Tyson's not only, I'm not going to say he's arrogant. Tyson is very confident a cocky, confident, but confident. And there's a reason why. He's beaten everybody. I think he might have taken him very lightly and not gone in 100%. I already see a difference in Tyson after the fight physically than with weeks of training for that fight. So that just tells me, okay, I shouldn't take Usyk lightly, and I better start training and get ready because this version is not going to do to Usyk what he got away with Nagano.
That naturally takes it on to that fight then, Roberto. So I know we've had many banter over the years with Lee Wood predictions, this, that, and the other. So let's have a prediction out here for Tyson Fury versus Usyk.
Very, very good fight, much needed fight. Obviously, when you have 2 of 4 of the best in the division and facing each other, it's a fight that the whole world's going to have eyes on. It's a fight that had to happen. It's a fight that Usyk wanted. I don't know how much Tyson wanted it, but it's here and around the corner. I see both of them having their moments. Usyk has a high ring IQ. Tyson is a big man that is proving time and time and time again. He's proven me wrong. So I have to say it is a 60-40, 55-45 type fight in favor of Tyson. And I think it plays out that way in the fight as it evolves, with Tyson being just physically too big. I think it's a fun fight, and I think it goes the distance. And at the end of the night, Tyson Fury's hand will be raised.
For what it's worth, in my opinion, Roberto, I don't think Usyk will see the 10th round. I think Tyson will just be too big.
He is too big, but I think Usyk can give him a little bit of problems. And it's not that Tyson's slow, but his ring IQ of in and out and he just can't get in too close where Tyson can use his weight, because after a few rounds, that weight of Tyson over Usyk, which he's never felt that kind of weight before, can really tire him out. So I think he's going to have to be lateral movements in and out and quicker on his feet.
And staying with the heavyweight scene, December 23rd, massive night in Riyadh. Anthony Joshua, what are your latest thoughts on Anthony? Obviously, he's floated around a few different coaches. He's now with Ben Davison. What are your thoughts on Anthony Joshua? Does he win a world belt again? Looking to fight Wilder. Just give us your thoughts on where you think Joshua is with his career.
I love the fact that there is a possibility, and it's right around the corner as well, that we can see Wilder against Joshua. That's probably a fight that I've been hoping for the last 5 years. That's probably the best heavyweight fight that we can see outside of Joshua against Fury, which would be possibly a much bigger event, because you have 2 of the biggest British fighters at the moment facing each other. But I think that would be a huge fight, and more so in the UK than worldwide. It's like that civil war. However, Wilder against Joshua, you pit 2 of the biggest heavyweights, 2 very big punchers in the heavyweight division, but also 2 not of the best chins in the heavyweight division. So it has the makings of a giant size Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns.
Wow, now that is that.
And if we can get a little bit of that in that fight, imagine how fun and exciting we can have 3 or 4 rounds of hell. But in order for us to get that, and that's what scares me a little bit, they both have to come through come this December. And I think, with all due respect for Wilder, with Parker, he has a very good opponent in front of him who's going to give him durable. He's going to give him rounds. Wilder hasn't been as active. So this will give him the rounds he needs to prepare and get him ready for a Joshua, because Parker's very durable, only been stopped once, and that was in the last round. I do see Wilder coming through with flying colors and even getting a knockout in the later rounds, probably even corner stopping it. However, with Joshua, I'm a little concerned. I'm a little
Southpaw.
concerned. Fighting a southpaw who gave Tyson Fury a tough time, a fighter that I've met personally, and you can only become a fan of his, and that knows that what this win can do for him in the financial, in the legacy, in the history, in the books. That's a tough fight. That's a tough fight. And like you said, with the changing of trainers and adjusting, what we've seen as of late of Anthony, I think in the perfect world, Anthony has the size, the skill, the boxing, and the movement. We need to know if Anthony has 100% the confidence in himself to go in there and stick to the plan. But hopefully, and I say this respectfully because I like Otto. I met him. Um, for the for the boxing world. Hopefully, we in March we see Wilder against Joshua. But hey, if he earns it and wins it, we may be seeing Wilder against Whaling.
So I've got your last dollar in my hand, Roberto. Your last dollar's here. If I had to place it on who wins out of Joshua or Wilder, where would you be putting it?
That's a great question. It's who can land their bomb first. The other chin won't hold up. But I'll say my last dollar on the table. Deontay Wilder brings the titles back to America once again.
Very interesting. Very interesting. So moving on, Roberto. This one's a little bit closer to home. I hope you don't mind me asking the question. What were your thoughts on Ryan Garcia recently and Oscar De La Hoya during that press conference?
Anytime there's a feud, whether it's in this case a company and a fighter that I worked with in the past, or whether it's a fighter and a company or a fighter and a trainer that I've never worked with or just seen, I don't like it because I always feel that the dirty laundry should be taken care at home, behind
Yeah,
closed doors, and
right.
there's always ways to fix things. And look, in the best of families, there's feuds and discussions and arguments, but it's always best to keep that privately taken care of, and whether it can be fixed or not, uh, you do it behind closed doors and move on. Hopefully they can find a happy medium and this moves on. But yeah, it was just like, I read comments of fans saying, "Wow, this is genius. It's publicity. It's to sell the fight." That wasn't publicity. That wasn't to sell a fight. That wasn't to promote it. There's other ways to sell it and promote
Yeah,
fights.
Roberto Garcia doesn't need to come up with them tricks, does he? He's got a
Not
massive
at all.
social. We spoke about him before. How astute he is with his social media. It's quite sad to see.
Ryan's look. You got two fighters, a former legendary, great Hall of Fame
Yeah,
fighter, and you have a current young fighter that's, whether he's a world champion or not, he's at the top of the game. All eyes are on him. What do they have in common? They're fighting the day. You push. What is he punches back? You push the other. What does he do? He punches back. That's what we got. It's just it's it's hard to sit down to, whether it's an older fighter and a younger fighter, but it's hard to sit down and say, hey, let's sit down at the table and negotiate and do things this way when they're fighters.
yeah, yeah. And just coming on to the business side of boxing, which you're well immersed in, Saudi Arabia. Good for boxing, bad for boxing. To manage to get Eddie Earn and Frank Warren sat at the same top table, they must be investing a lot of money. So, what are your thoughts on Saudi Arabia getting involved in boxing?
Fantastic, amazing for boxing. Hopefully, more and more of us can start seeing a piece of that pie. It's what Vegas was when it
Yeah,
originally started. When Vegas first started, and then all of a sudden Vegas, not all of a sudden, but through the years became the mecca of boxing. Who knows? We may be seeing right now early stages of the mecca for boxing, but at the end of the
that way.
day, the money's being paid. to these fighters is incredible, record breaking. And at the end of the day, if that's going to secure their future, wow, more power for them. Now, if we could just hopefully sustain it and keep it, and if anybody can, it is Saudi Arabia. It is the Qatars. It is that side of the pond, that side of the world, because there's so much money and there's so much tourism and there's so much growth that we're seeing. And if boxing can help add a little piece of that growth and tourism and all eyes on that side of the world, then it's amazing and it's great for boxing.
There's a little bit of objection in the UK amongst fight fans because, for example, the bigger fights seem to be going to Saudi Arabia and that part of the world, and a lot of British fight fans are getting a bit, they're used to seeing it at Wembley and, being able to go live to watch a fight. So there is some payout for this, though, isn't there? There's some things that fight fans are missing out on. Because not your average Joe can afford to fly out to Saudi and watch these fights, Roberto.
But that's happened through the years, in the times of Ricky Hatton being such a mega star, ticket at the gate in Las Vegas. The army, that Hatton army, would travel and have to go to Vegas, but make it a trip, not just go to the fight. Make it a trip, make it a holiday, and enjoy a few days in Abu Dhabi and Saudi Arabia, in Dubai. But it's just that we have to understand, and it happens here in the States as well. There's certain fights that go to certain venues that not everybody can go to because the ticket prices are so much higher. But at the end of the day, it's going to be rare that you say it to a fighter, where do you rather fight? Of course, it doesn't matter. The ring is the same.
But the prize fighters, right? The prize fighters.
Exactly. And a promoter's not going to leave money on the table to say, well, but we owe it to the fans. But like Ricky, when he came out here and fought Mayweather and lost, his very next fight was in Man City Stadium. And that was to give back to those fans that had loved and support him, to say, look, everybody can see me now. Ticket prices are going to be affordable, and let's come back. As long as you do that, you have to go for the big ones. They have to secure their future.
Yeah.
The promoter has to get their payout, and then the fighter could always come back and do a homecoming at something more reasonable for the fight fans that missed out on the bigger fights.
So another topic that's causing quite a lot of debate over in the UK is misfits boxing and YouTube fighters, etc., etc. What are your thoughts on the likes of Tommy Fury jumping in with KSI and things like this, Roberto? Obviously, I'd just like to get your thoughts.
I won't knock it. There's certain foods I'll try it. I don't like it. I didn't like the taste. I won't care for it. I won't order it again. Very similar to each his own. Look, I don't have to like liver and onions, but there's other people that like liver and onions. To me, hopefully it's a fad. Hopefully, and if not, hey, more power to these men stepping in the ring. But what I don't like, and in fact, it goes beyond not liking. Boxers through the years have sacrificed so much since early age to become a champion, to become somebody, to make some money, to provide for themselves and their families. But through years of sacrifice, through the amateur rankings, through the professional, moving up from 4 round, 6 round, 8 round, 10 rounds, some of them don't make it. And now to have some guy that never put on boxing gloves say, you know what? I can make some money. Let me put on boxing gloves and treat it, more than anything, treat it as a carnival, as a joke. That's where I lose respect. Jake Paul fights tonight, coincidentally.
Yeah.
I've changed a little bit on my mind. I won't watch, but I won't knock it. But he's changed my mind a little bit because I see a little bit more seriousness, more training. Now starting to challenge different combat fighters. Today, it's a professional fighter I'm not familiar with, but that's not that he's not good or not. But at least trying to grow in that level, trying to move up, and I do think it's a fad. I think, look, we've had boxing for over 100 years, professional boxing, and it's not going anywhere. But you can't compare. As long as they separate it and don't try to mix it.
Agree.
They'll have their fans watch them. You know, they got YouTubers fighting. Okay, have them fight YouTubers. But the moment that, well, I want to fight for a world title and I want to fight a real boxer, that's where I'm going to be like, no, you can't do this, because somebody's going to get hurt.
A couple of things from me though, Roberto, is let's call it mainstream boxing. Mainstream boxing can learn a little bit from that side of the business regarding fans coming in the stadium to watch the undercard, the production quality. Because I've been to a couple of KSI fights because my daughter took me. Just before everyone starts hammering me on Twitter, my daughter asked me to take her, so why wouldn't I? And there was the fights were awful. I don't mind saying that they were awful, but the build up, the product, the media work. I do think boxing has to have a good look at itself, and it's good to see it the best are starting to fight the best, because I liken it to WWE, Roberto. I think it's a WWE of boxing. So as long as it stays in its own lane, but boxing has a responsibility to itself for the best to fight the best. That's my view on it.
150%. I think we will start seeing that. I think we've started to see that. And I'll give you a reason why I believe we're going to start seeing that more and more. After Mayweather was so successful, I'm going to call it the Mayweather effect, and it worked for him, undefeated, came out, showed a lot of money, showed a lot of jewelry, showed the lifestyle. The younger generation that came up after him believed that in order to achieve the financial gains, you had to be undefeated and not fight the toughest fights, the best fights out there. For Mayweather, it worked. Why? Because he's such a good fighter. Mayweather's something special, once in a lifetime. Great promoter, great fighter, great everything. And that's why he is where he is. For the younger fighters, it doesn't work. It didn't work. There's going to be fighters that maybe in 10, 15 years, we will not remember, regardless if they're undefeated. Then years have passed. That younger generation is growing, growing, growing. Now almost out that door into retirement. Then you had this kid from Mexico who, even at an early age, came in and fought everybody. Probably one of the best resumes for anybody in his age, and that's Canelo Alvarez. And he's taken on challenges sometimes that he may not have needed, but he's lost. And very similar to Mayweather, even though he lost, he's at the top of the world in boxing. And he has the cars, the money, the fame, but he has losses. How could they both be? So now you had the Mayweather effect. Now you have the Canelo effect. So the younger fighters coming up under Canelo say, wait a minute, I want what he has. And he took risks. And what have you now? Ryan Garcia fighting Gervonta Davis. Teofimo Lopez fighting Lomachenko, going to Australia twice to fight Kambosos. Haney moving up in weight and fighting Regis. The younger fighters are now daring to fight. And I think that's going to continue on. And that trend, at the end of the day, takes us back to those fighters like Leonard and Hagler and Hearns and Duran, De La Hoya, Trinidad, Vargas, Corte. That's what we need again to redo it and bring it back to where it once was, the beautiful sport. Best against the best.
Yeah. And last topic from me is one that's slightly gone under the radar, which is Callum Smith versus Beterbiev, which is in January. I'm a massive Callum Smith fan. I know you know Canelo quite well, but I think he gives Canelo problems at 175. You might not agree with me. Give us your breakdown on that one, because it's a very intriguing fight, Roberto, isn't it?
I love the fight. Go Liverpool in this one, 100%. Let's go, Callum. I know Callum. I know Mundo. I wish him all the best. It's not
Fabulous
an easy
family, right? Fabulous family. The Smith family.
Exactly. I know all of them. I send them all a lot of love. I was with I saw both. No, I didn't see Callum. I didn't see Callum out there. But I see a very difficult fight. I mean, there's no how do you say, no secret to how good and how strong this guy in front of him is. But that's where even the Canelo fight, which was his defeat, he's going to learn a lot from.
Yeah.
And I believe
And
that
dead at the weight, right, Roberto? Callum was
correct,
dead at the weight.
correct. I think we've seen him very strong in his fights at 75. I think as long as he just keeps in mind one round at a time and not try to, all right, let me show you, let's go toe to toe and be disciplined. Be very disciplined in the fight. Box, use your movement, use your skills, use your boxing, use your jab in and out. I think he could cause a lot of problems and come out with the win. He just has to stick to the plan, box, and be very disciplined, not try to engage when it's not needed. He will have to at moments, but he has this physical size, experience, and strength and resistance to do that. Just don't engage foolishly.
Better behave on the slide a little bit.
I
Or
don't think it's
am I being unfair?
no, I don't think it's on the slide so much. I think uh, yes, he is very good. He is very strong. He has so much talent, but the level is rising of opposition, and it's been a certain level of opposition. Not his fault. There's really hadn't been somebody there that can really exploit or bring out maybe the best out of him. But I think we're going to see the best version of him against Callum Smith. But I think versus having somebody right in front of you going toe to toe and you're just overpowering, too big, too strong, versus somebody who can give you technical difficulties by, the strategy, then we'll see. Yes, absolutely. On Monday, people are going to say, yeah, he was on the slide because they're not going to give credit like it's boxing. But I think Callum Smith can come out with the unanimous decision.
And I will end it with a local fighter to where I live, Lee Wood. I remember many moons ago when he was fighting Zucan and we had a bit of backward and forward about a prediction. Just give us a few lines on Lee Wood, Roberto, and the great career that he's gone on to have since Kanzu.
Absolutely. I actually became a fan of Lee after his fight with Kanzu. I mean, this is a kid that not only outworked them but stopped them. Um, I do believe the inactivity hurt Kanzu. However, that's no excuse. And you know what? Lee Wood earned it, won it, got it back after losing it. And in his last fight, I actually picked Lee. I picked Lee and I picked him by stoppage. And I say that respectfully to Warrington, but I thought Lee would stop him. It's in the predictions of ring, and I think he's going to go on and win another world championship in the super featherweight division. So I'll be watching him, especially because I work with Lamont Roach. So I'll be watching him closely and wish him all the very best, and say, hey, go make your fans, go make the UK proud, and go get that second division that should be yours.
Well, his next fight's looking like being at the football ground that's in Nottingham. So I know you're good friends with Eddie Earns, and maybe you get a ticket and come over and we can party in Nottingham. Roberto, really thank you for your time. Thank you for talking about spell boxing. Good to see you looking well and healthy, young man. Catch up with you in 2024 and take care of yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Carl. It's a pleasure, as always. To everybody that listens, Last Bell Boxing, all the best. Happy holidays to everybody. Enjoy. Take care of yourself. And until the next round.
Take care.
Thank you.